Well, good afternoon, brethren. Here we are, April 5th, 2023. The title of my talk is called Commemorating. We know what that means. We are acknowledging or renewing, or I should say, and renewing our commitment and remembering what it took to pull our fat out of the fire. Of course, he knew us a long time ago. But yet, I can look back over my life and I can see, that debt I could never pay, but it's paid for. And he tells us to rejoice, to be happy. The Feast of Tabernacles is another time. You go there to rejoice, to be happy. What did the Messiah say to the women? To be joyful, to be happy. I have overcome this world. He's put the adversary in his place. Greetings, saints and future saints. What are we commemorating here today? And this week, we find the history of the first Passover recorded in Exodus 12. With miracles from Elohim, the Israelites were able to leave Egypt with their families, while the Egyptians mourned the firstborn of every family. The death angel passed over every house that was marked by the blood of the sacrificial lamb. Can you imagine that? At that time, they were the most powerful nation in the world, Egypt. They were the cat's whisker. So here, these people, our Creator says, I want them out. I want them to go into the desert and celebrate holy days, praise and worship. He wouldn't let them go. So he hardened Pharaoh's heart. But he does that. He has a way of doing things that really sets you back. And those, especially those who have a problem with power grab or are money hungry or who just like to wield it over people. He has a way of kicking you in the slats and knocking you down a few slats too. But it's interesting. You can read that for yourself in Exodus 12. Hebrews 9, verse 22 tells us, and almost all things are by the law purged with blood, and without the shedding of blood there is no remission. Now, remission, according to Strong's Concordance, a synonym for it would be forgiveness, pardon, release, or the one I like the most is cancellation of debt. Now you got to think about that. There are those that rile against the Christian faith. I'll call it the Christian faith. Actually, it's the faith of the way, the truth, and life. But our Redeemer. They reject him. They ignore him. But without accepting his blood, they're in their sins. How do we get to the point where our sins have been forgiven? He's called us into it. Some people today, as in Ezekiel's day, may say that Elohim is unfair. Ezekiel 33, verses 11 through 20, Yah says, I take no pleasure in the death of the wicked, but that the wicked would turn from his evil way and live. Turn ye from your evil way, for why will you die, O house of Israel? That's a profound statement. This isn't something that's going to be bartered or reasoned with. If you don't turn from your evil way, he's telling the apple of his eye, why will you die? You're going to die. Therefore, thou son of man, say unto the children of your people, this is Ezekiel, say unto the children of your people, the righteousness of the righteous shall not deliver him in the day of his transgression. As for the wickedness of the wicked, he shall not fall thereby in the day that he turns from his wickedness. Neither shall the righteous be able to live for his righteousness in the day that he sins. When I shall say to the righteous, he shall surely live, if he trusts to his own righteousness and commits iniquity, all of his righteousness shall not be remembered. But for his iniquity that he has committed, he shall die for it. Again, when I say unto the wicked, thou shalt surely die, if he turns from his sin and does that which is lawful and right, if the wicked restore the pledge, give again that which he has robbed, walk in the statutes of life without committing iniquity, he shall surely live, he shall not die. Now, our Creator's not one for word salads or saying or telling us to do things that's impossible to do. So, it's interesting to do that which is lawful and right. If the wicked restore the pledge, give again that which was robbed, whatever was robbed, walk in the statutes of life without committing iniquity. That it can be done, or else he wouldn't say it. He shall surely live and shall not die. None of his sins that he has committed shall be mentioned unto him. He has done that which is lawful and right, he shall surely live. Yet the children of your people say, Yahweh is not equal. Anybody ever hear that? I could never believe in a God like that. I could never do that. That's not right. But for them, their way is not equal. Has anybody heard that the LGBT people, the transgenders, oh, God loves me. Yeah, he does. He doesn't want, he wishes that none would perish. But Elohim or God made me this way? Yet the children of your people say that Yahweh is not equal. Well, we're looking for all kinds of equality, equity. Everything is the same. But for them, their way is not equal. Is he fair? Does he get what he deserves? Or I'm sorry. Is he fair? Capital H-E, our Creator. Do we get what we deserve? Or is he loving, merciful, and forgiving? Now, he is loving, he is merciful, and he is forgiving. But what else is he? Just. What do I require of you, O man? If he requires it of us, is he not the same way? To do justly, love mercy, walk humbly. Micah 7, verse 18 through 19. Who is like Elohim unto you? Or I should say, who is like a God unto you? This is Micah speaking now. In other words, he's saying to Elohim, who is like you? What God is like you, that pardons iniquity and passes the transgressions of the remnant of his heritage? He retains not his anger forever, but he does get angry. For he delights in mercy. He will turn again. He will have compassion upon us. He will subdue or put down all of our iniquities, and you will cast them. He's taught now. This is Micah saying to our Creator, and you will cast their iniquities into the depths of the sea. Now, the word subdue our iniquities in our lives and not remember our sins anymore. That's what to subdue means. He just won't remember them anymore. He chooses that. He chooses that. In Deuteronomy chapter 30, after giving the law to the Israelites, Yahweh tells them what will happen if they and we have to include ourselves here, brethren, follow his instructions, and what will happen if we don't. He wraps up with a very compelling statement in verses 19 and 20. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you blessings and cursings. Therefore choose life, that both you and your seed may live, that you may love Yah with your Elohim with all your Elohim, that you may obey his voice, and that you may cleave unto him. Hang on to him. Don't walk away or stray away. For he is your life and the strength of your days. It's good to have doctors, but our life and length of days is in Him. Regardless of what your condition is, He can keep you going. If He wants you there, He will keep you going. That you may dwell in the land which Yah swore unto your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Zechariah 3, verses 1 through 8. And He showed me Joshua, the high priest, standing before the angel of Elohim, Yahweh, and Satan standing on his right hand to resist or oppose him. Now here you have Joshua, standing before the angel of Yah, and then Satan standing on the right side. It's interesting, to oppose him and also Joshua. And Yah said unto Satan, Yahweh rebuke you, O Satan, even Yahweh that has chosen Jerusalem rebuke you. Is this not a brand plucked out of the fire? Now Joshua was clothed with filthy clothes and stood before the angel. And he answered and said to those who stood before him, saying, Take away the filthy garments from him. And unto him he said, Behold, I have caused your iniquity to pass from you. Now, that is very important, brethren. I have caused your iniquity to pass from you, and I will clothe you with a change of raiment. And I said to them, Set a fair mitre on his head. So they set a fair mitre upon his head, and clothed him with a garment. And the angel of Yah stood by, and the angel of Yahweh protested or renounced, that word protester should be announced, unto him or admonished him, Joshua, thus saith Yahweh of hosts. Now the man was in dirty, filthy clothes. He was a priest. He was cleaned up, washed up, looked like a brand new penny. And here the angels admonishing him, Joshua, thus saith Yahweh of hosts, if you will walk in my ways, and if you will keep my charge, then shall you also keep my courts. I will give you places to walk among these that stand by. Now, who was standing by? The angels. Hear now, O Joshua the high priest, you and your fellows that sit before you, for they are men to be wondered at. For behold, I will bring forth my servant, the branch. He's talking about the Messiah. Now, what I'm going to read next is a commentary, but I think it's very accurate. Satan, as in the well-known attack on Job, is always standing by, tempting men to sin. And when they do, he accuses them before Elohim. Revelations 12, you can read it in there. He hates mankind, who were created in the image of Elohim, which he was not. But he hates Elohim even more. He himself wants to be, quote, the God of the universe. And so he seeks to defeat Elohim's purpose for his other creatures. Or he seeks to defeat Elohim's purpose. The first basis of Elohim's rebuke to him, to Satan, is not an attempt to justify Israel's weakness or wickedness. When he said, Yah rebuke you, Satan, he's not trying to justify anything that Israel's done, but merely that Elohim has chosen Israel, and that's the way it is. By definition, what Elohim does is right. The commentary from Henry Morris. But you think about that. Here's a man standing with filthy garments, I would dare say, the representation of the sins of Israel and his own. But our Creator picked him out, just like our Redeemer. And at the first Passover, well, at the last, when he was here, he had the last Passover with his 12. Before we even knew, and before those 12 men even knew, he was sacrificed. He gave his life. When John the Baptist saw his relatives, probably his cousin Joshua, coming to the place where he was baptizing, he said to those around him, "Behold, the Lamb of Elohim, which takes away the sins of the world." This is in John 1, verses 29. And what is commonly called the Last Supper, recorded in Luke chapter 22, verses 19 through 20, we read of Joshua having the Passover meal with his disciples. And he took bread and brake it and gave it unto them, saying, "This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." Now, we just did that 2 nights ago. Likewise, also the cup after supper, saying, "This is the cup of the New Testament in my blood, which is shed for you." The same event is recorded by John, whose focus is slightly different than Luke, the physician. John chapter 13, verses 13 through 15. After he washed their feet, Joshua tells the disciples, "You call me Master and Lord, and you say, well, for I am, for so I am. If I then, Master, your Lord and Master, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you should do so, or do as I have done for you." Now, the example of humility that he asks us to partake in and to remember is a mere microcosm of the humility that he suffered as the creator of the universe. But he asks us to remember him by doing this. He did all the hard work for us. Compare the first way of priest as recorded in Hebrew chapter 9, reading verse 11 through 14. But Christ becoming a high priest of good things to come by a greater and more perfect tabernacle, not made with hands, that is to say, not of this building, neither by the blood of goats and calves, but by his own blood he entered once into the holy place, having obtained eternal redemption for us. For the blood of bulls and goats and the ashes of an heifer, sprinkling the unclean, sacrifices to the purifying of flesh. Their flesh was purified. Well, what's the difference? What makes the difference between the blood of bulls and goats and the blood of our Redeemer? How much more the blood of Messiah, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without spot to Elohim, purges our conscience from dead works to serve the living Elohim. You got to ask yourself, where does the sin start? In the heart, in the mind. His blood and his sacrifice purges our conscience, which the blood of bulls and goats could not do. That's why they had to do it every year, constantly, year after year after year. The first epistle of Peter, chapter 1, tells us in verse 16 through 19, "Because it is written, Be ye holy, for I am holy. And if ye call on the Father, who without respect of persons judges according to every man's work, pass the time." This is a very powerful recommendation and admonishment. "Pass the time sojourning here in fear," or with respect, especially if you have been already baptized and accepted his blood. Don't go back. For as much as you know you were not redeemed with corruptible things, silver and gold, from your vain conversation or your lifestyle. Vain meaning worthless lifestyle. By the tradition from your fathers that we learn from our parents and aunts and uncles and those we look up to. Those, they used to be called them the old timers. But maybe they're actors or athletes by their traditions from your fathers. But with the precious blood of Messiah, as a lamb without blemish and without spot, who verily or truly was foreordained before the foundation of the world, but was manifest in these last times for you, who by him do believe in Elohim. That, in other words, that seems like a lot very wordy, but I'll read it again. Who truly was foreordained before the foundation of the world, but was manifest in these last times for you, who by him do believe in Elohim, that raised him from the dead and gave him glory, that your faith, hope might be in Elohim. Now, I want to also admonish everyone to, we went through a lot of the Old Testament here, and how we saw how our Father in heaven, our Creator, our Redeemer, at that time, the word of Yah, chose not to remember the sins of Israel. Just, I'm not going to remember it. And he rebuked Satan, because Satan was standing there ready to accuse Joshua for all these sins. He was arrayed in filthy clothes. But our Creator knew why he was there, and he told Satan, Yah rebuke you. We're going to clean him up because I said so. He has the authority. He's the head. He's the head honcho. There is none above him. Romans 8. Now think about these things. Romans 8, called, foreknown, predestined, justified, glorified. They are those whom he has called. And long before we were ever repentant, we were predestined from before the foundation of the world, some translations have, to be called, justified, and glorified. 1 Kings 19. Remember Eliah, feeling that he was all alone after he dealt that severe blow to the priest of Baal? And what really scared him was Jezebel. She put a contract out on him. That really upset him. So he takes off. Anyway, 1 Kings 19, Elias, feeling that he's all alone. I'm shortening this up some. And our Creator says in verse 18, Yahweh directs him and tells him, Yet I have left me, or I have reserved for myself, much like the foreknown, the predestined, the called, the justified, 7,000 in Israel, all the knees which have not bowed unto Baal, and every mouth which has not kissed him. And brethren, we have an advocate on high whom we just acknowledged the wonderful things he has done. And I say to my wife, the benefits, the blessings, I say to her, where would I be without them? I wouldn't be here, I can tell you that right now. But he has called us for a very special purpose. What he did with those 7,000 in Israel, I don't know. What he's going to do with us when the times get tough, we're still in the green. We're not experiencing any pushback or blowback or anything. We're still in the green. In fact, there are people that appreciate those who read the scriptures and live by them. In fact, I read an article where the atheists who think the scriptures are just a bunch of fairy tales, when asked, they would prefer to have Christians as neighbors because they won't knock over their home and rob it and break into it or try raping their daughters or something like that. Much prefer to have them. So, brethren, the commemoration is, we must always remember, this is what Israel forgot. time after time after time. And you can read it in Jeremiah, where he told Jeremiah, he says, I don't want you praying to me for these people. I am sick and tired of their constant moaning and groaning and saying, I'm sorry, and going back and doing the same thing over and over and over again. That's where the blood of the bulls and goats and the blood of the Messiah comes in. He is what, his blood is what changes or redirects or realigns our conscience to his spirit. But my admonition is, and this world is crazy. This world is taking what is evil, and I mean evil, and saying it's good. They want to normalize homosexuality, normalize transgenderism, normalize divorce, normalize murder. That little baby back there, she's only 2 months away from what California would say she could be put to death. She could be 27 days old. She was a beautiful baby. And in California, the mother didn't want her. They kill the baby, take the heart, the lungs, whatever, and sell them. That, Mr. Gavin Newsom says, is freedom. He says California is the state of the free people. Don't let the adversary who stands not far from us, he's not standing far from us, don't let him get the upper hand. Stay focused on our Creator. We're still in the green and we see this doesn't look good. Wait till the proverbial you know what hits the fan. It's not going to be nice. Thank you.